You would hope.
Okay, so then let's take it to the next level then. If they don't, you shouldn't, then you, number one, shouldn't have been with this person in the first place.
Well,
and
yeah,
number two, shouldn't be revisiting this
but
relationship.
if my uncle had a vagina, he'd be my
Shut
aunt.
up! I hate when you say that.
But that's why I say it, because you hate it.
The millennial generation is as follows. Welcome to
Surrounded by idiots.
Radio Podcast.
Live on tape from beautiful Scottsdale, Arizona, the Valley of the Sun. This is the Surrounded by Idiots radio podcast. This is your host, Dr. Tony Dufresne, along with the lovely Lexi Rodriguez. Hey, Lex, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing. You're here, back in studio. Welcome back. It's always good to just do this in person.
I know.
We talk about this all the time, but it's true. It's a dynamic thing. It's like anything. It's a whole reason why we talk about to other people about doing the online thing and the texting, and you lose context. It's just better to do it in person.
And we talk about being present so much, and this is just such a perfect way to be present. It's almost like my therapy / meditation, because it forces me to turn the phone off, to really focus on what we're talking about today and not everything else going on in my life, which I like. I'm not distracted at all. I was going to warn viewers and listeners, if I sound distracted, it's because I literally have bajillion things on my mind, but it's all good stuff. So I'm in a positive mode, and you're the perfect person to be around as I go through this type of stuff in my life.
Well, that's because I don't pay any attention to you.
I know, exactly. You just nod.
Yeah.
You just agree and nod. Yeah,
No,
right.
actually, the nodding is just a force of habit. I'm actually thinking about toy boats or something in my head, so it doesn't matter. This is all mindful meditation
Toy
practice.
boats.
I don't know. I just
That's
threw that out
not
there.
creepy.
See?
Okay,
Yeah,
Pee-wee
right?
Herman.
Exactly. Yeah.
Fucking toy boats. Gross.
See, that's exactly what my intention was, to really fuck with your head. So anyway, this is a wine. It's a wine Wednesday.
Yeah.
And
it is Wine
and it's
Wednesday.
and we're doing a night show, so that's when the wine comes out. And tonight I actually threw out the 14 Hands Hot to Trot. Yeah, we're not getting paid by them, but I thought I'd just kind of mention it because I like it.
It's so good.
It's like an everyday.
So
it's like
smooth.
$7 or something. You can pick it
Oh,
up.
really?
Yeah, it's easy.
Nice.
14 Hands Hot to Trot. So it's a blend and it's good.
Nice.
It's not, it's no Wine Spectator wine, but it's good. It works. Yeah, who
It's
cares, right?
good. Speaking of wine, my ex-boyfriend was such a wine snob.
Okay, that's what we're going to get into. So today we're going to talk about being friends with how to be friends with your ex.
Or,
Now-
as I would like to title the show, First Dates with Your Ex-Boyfriend.
First dates with your ex-boyfriend, or how to be friends with your ex. Now, this brings up a touchy subject because a lot of people either think they can't or they shouldn't be friends with their ex.
They
but
think it's like,
right,
you
but
know?
there's a way to go about doing it if you want to. There's a way of going about doing
And
it.
honestly, I think that it is beneficial to your being to kind of wave the surrender white flag of kind of like, hey, you're cool, I'm cool, we got over each other, we lived, we didn't die, but did you die? It's like, no, we didn't, we're fine.
Right.
Let's move on with good energy towards each other, because energy is a real thing, ladies and gentlemen, and I talk about it all the time. So I think that being like, hey, you okay, you heartbroken, and he's just kind of like, no, I'm good, I'm over it, I'm like, cool. It's kind of weight off my shoulders.
Right, and we're gonna talk about going through the process of that. But the thing is that you can be. There's two kind of ways to go about doing it. You can get over somebody and then not have them in your life, and that's really not what we're talking about. Because you can reconcile everything and be all right, and then just choose not to have them be a part of your life.
Right, of course.
Depending upon if it fits or not.
Of
But
course.
we're going to talk about actually if you want to have them as a part of your life. There's a way that
How
you
to
can,
do it
there's a way that
appropriately.
you can do it. There's really only one way that you can set it up to where it's going to work on a long-term basis. And I know that in terms of the boundaries and stuff, we have a kind of a difference of opinion.
We have it,
so we're
obviously.
kinda, clearly. So, but the first thing, so I want to hear about your thing.
Yeah, so
this just happened last night.
We went last night. Yeah, so this got me thinking, and I am pretty close, not close, but I'm good friends with a few of my exes. I haven't had too many serious relationships, but this particular relationship was pretty serious. It was the first guy I ever lived with. From what I'm told, I was the first chick he's ever been in love with. And so it was kind of one of those staple relationships where I learned a lot about myself. I also learned a lot about just relationships in general and cohabitation and growth, and how 8 out of 10 marriages end in divorce because growth is inevitable. And I love that we're talking about this because we preach growth to our clients every single day.
Yeah, because people are always changing.
You need to grow.
Yeah,
and it almost brings me to my theory that I think it's tough to be with one person forever.
It is tough.
Because growth is inevitable. So why, and that's why it's so important to grow as a couple. Otherwise, someone's going to get a little bit farther ahead of the other, or vice, or whatever, or maybe divergent paths. I mean, they might grow, and then as you grow, you change. You change as a person. You change, your priorities change. Things change, and your paths might kind of deviate. Yeah. So
instead of kind of winding back and forth, which really what they should do in a best case scenario, and that's really about. There's a lot of luck. There's a lot of luck that's involved in that. I hate to say it, but there really is.
Define luck.
To find a person that actually you connect with on it. This is a whole different show, but to find a person that you connect with on a certain level to where you really want to start a relationship and you have the basis and the foundation for that, right? Love and trust and similar interests and all that stuff, similar humor and all that. So you have that and then you fall in love and then you start something with the intention, of course, of staying together for a long period of time and creating something. But once you start creating, you start evolving, you guys are not the same person. And you go different time, and so sometimes you kind of do this a little bit.
And
maybe one person goes out a little bit.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I think you have to be kind of luck of the draw to get somebody who can kind of stay in your gravitational pull,
totally, it's
and
dancing.
vice versa for like forever.
For like ever.
Because I think the odds are, and I don't want to come across as a pessimist, but I think the odds are to stay together. Because first of all, we're not supposed to be monogamous, but that's what I'm just saying. But if you do look for as the objective, I think the odds are that it's very, very difficult because who you are now is not who you're going to be in 10 years. I guarantee it.
And it shouldn't be.
No, well, hopefully, if you continue to evolve, and some people don't evolve, they actually collapse within themselves. And the worst part is that having somebody collapse within themselves and the other person's trying to expand.
And that's what happens in relationships, and that's why people break up, is you're not taking care of yourself the way you should be. You're mostly trying to take care of the relationship as a duo instead of, like we always preach, take care of yourself first before you can take care of anyone else.
The relationship, that entity is draining you as a person, and is taking all that
and that's
that
why I got out of my
energy,
last relationship.
Right, exactly.
I mean, and it's crazy because I go through these relationships and I learn, and every time I go through them, the next one is better, and that's the point. And you're growing, and I'm evolving, and I'm learning. But it is very rewarding. It's kind of rewarding to sit down last night and have dinner with my ex and just chat and be cool and know that, because in the moment when we broke up, I was like, damn, I don't want to hurt this dude. This is fucked up. He's a good person. What have I done? Why did I get into this if it wasn't going to work out? All these things, all these negative emotions when you're going through a breakup fucking suck. They do kind of limit you. And it feels good to know that now everything is on the table, and now it's you're not saying you're eventually going to understand this. I know it hurts right now, but eventually you're going to understand it. It's understood.
Mm-hmm.
It's fucking understood, and it feels really good.
How did it play out for you guys?
So what I was going to say...
Where are your heads?
Long story short, we broke up. It's been a couple of years since we even talked. social media, deleted everything on social media. We didn't have each other's phone numbers. I mean, I moved from Arizona to San Diego, so we had absolutely no contact. I deleted like his homies, our mutual homies that were no longer my friends on social media as well. So we didn't know what each other was doing this whole time. He reached out to me through email once, just asking how I was, just kind of saying, I've been thinking about you, just wondering how everything's going, you know, get back to me if you want. If not, not a big deal. I got back to him, of course, because we didn't break up because of anything nasty. We just broke up because we grew apart. And it was funny because I was fucking like 24 when I was with this dude. I'm 28. I told him last night, I'm like, sorry you kind of had to deal with 24-year-old Alexis. I'm like, I wish you could have, you know, had me now. Just joking, obviously. But, and it's cute because he sent me a sweet text afterwards like, hey, I just want you to know 24 Alexis was cool as fuck. Or 24-year-old Alexis was cool as fuck. Right. And I'm like, I appreciate that because it puts everything in light that you really do grow. Like, I see my growth as real tangible fucking growth when I look back, when I'm sitting there with him at that table last night and I'm like, damn, you were with me when I was 24. I wouldn't even be friends with a 24-year-old girl right now, let alone date one. What? You know? Obviously I'm like way mature for my age.
Oh,
but,
clearly, yes.
So yeah. So anyways, we ended up, I was in town the last time and he was out of the country. And so he kind of was like, well, next time you're in town, let me know. Let's grab dinner. And I'm like, of course, no questions. But this is the thing for you listeners. A lot of you would immediately run and hide if an ex asked you to go out and have drinks. And we want to get the point across to you that if you handle everything appropriately, being the breakup when it is first coming about, then shit like this is going to be just fine and it's going to be rewarding. It's not going to be weird. So we want to brace yourself for these awkward situations. It's basically keeping you honest. If you're an honest motherfucker, you're never going to have to run and hide.
Yeah, but you have to do a couple things ahead of time, too, remember? And that's what we're going to talk about. The fact is that there's really one way to go about doing this. And the only way you're going to be able to be okay with being friends with an ex is if you, and regardless if you're the one who broke up or if you're the breakie or the breaker, is you have to grieve the death of the relationship.
Yeah.
You have to gotta bury it.
Yeah.
And have the service. And then you have to mourn it properly. And then you've got to create a brand new relationship with brand new boundaries with that person. Like brand new.
But you have to do all of these things subtly. Because if you come to the table and if your ex asks you to go get a drink or to catch up, he may or she may just be wanting to really catch up and see what's popping in your life now. It doesn't mean that you have to say, yes, on these conditions, because that's too much.
Well, first of all, I mean, there's a timing issue, too, because a lot of times that people like to do that. The people that go back and forth and stuff, they break up, they get back together, you know, kind of back and forth. There's no time in between. The process of going through and mourning that relationship didn't happen. And that's why time is a huge component in this. And you've got to give yourself the proper amount of time to be able to mourn this relationship.
Sure. I mean,
and you have to put it in context in terms of it happened. This is what I learned from it.
Right.
This person is still important to me. I still care about this person. I still love this person. You don't have to not love a person. You don't have to not care about a person. You can do that and put it in that person box, person X, put it in the box. I love him and I care for him and all the good things, the reasons why you guys got together, they can still exist because it's not the person necessarily, it's the relationship.
Because
it's how you guys, right, because they still do, and you see the good parts and you see the potential in somebody. I mean, I would assume that's the reason why you got together with somebody in the first place, is because you see a potential in them that you can live with them. So that's all still there.
Yeah.
Unless they've totally masqueraded themselves and they're a humongous dirtbag. But I'm thinking most of the times that's not the case. So you can accept that for what it is. But if there's not enough time and you haven't mourned the relationship, you're not going to be able to detach from the feelings that actually were generated in that relationship. All the feelings, the good ones and the bad ones. And if somebody wants to reconnect with you and you still have some of those, then it's not going to go well.
And it's a sign, I think, when you do give it time. It's kind of like when you have an idea and you kind of have writer's block and you revisit the essay that you're writing because you have writer's block and you have to come back to it, and then you flow from there and it's fucking brilliant. That's how I would compare it. It's like you have this relationship. It was cool. It was dope. You were in it for a reason. It didn't work. So you have to leave. You have to leave and grow and kind of clear your mind.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you come back to it, it's going to be that similar relationship, but 2.0, because you're 2.0. He or she is now 2.0. You've learned from that last relationship and you've dated along the way, and you're just learning. You're just stacking. And now the relationship will be brilliant. Not saying it has to be romantic, but the relationship in general.
It can't be.
Yeah.
I
think it can.
No, because that's a different thing. Remember, and this is where we kind of differ because we're talking about a friendship. If you want to,
I know we're initially
if you wanted to,
talking about a friendship.
Okay, initially that might be the case, but what happens is this: a lot of times you go into you mourn the loss and you do all that. Let's say you do everything perfectly, and a lot of time has passed, and all those feelings are put in their place, and there's water under the bridge, and you get back together with them, and you draw new boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
We're just friends.
I
and
hate.
that, and
I hate when it comes to any type of relationship. I hate conversations where you have to talk about boundaries. This is why I work with my clients on being more aware, so that way they can just subtly do this stuff without having to have that weird conversation of these are the boundaries.
Right.
This is because I think personally I have a hard time with someone telling me I have boundaries because I want to do things the way I operate.
Yeah, but the thing is, but you can't, if it's you and another person, it's not just about you.
I know.
So it's going to be about you guys agreeing on what's acceptable and what's not. But
you can agree subtly.
Well, you can, but as aware as you are, a lot of times that somebody else operates on a different plane of reality, even though you know them really well, let's say. There's still going to be circumstances where they might see subtle signs, or if you don't come out and say, listen, I came back, or I'm here because I value you as a person,
right,
and all that stuff, and this is where I'm at. That's where I'm at. I mean, I'm not looking to rekindle anything. This is just where I'm at. And if you set that boundary, that's pretty general.
So, right, but let me tell you how I did it subtly. This is a way that people can take notes and learn how to have these kind of awkward conversations subtly. Is we sat down, had a drink, we're chatting. One of my questions was, "Are you dating?" So that's kind of a subtle way of asking if he's dating, seeing if he is, and then if he is, it's his subtle way back at like, I don't want to date you.
So what was your intention on asking him if he was dating?
Because I wanted him to know that I genuinely don't care if he's dating anyone, and I didn't want him to come into the relationship thinking that this was going to go further.
What if he thought in his head, because boundaries weren't set, that
then
he thought
that
maybe you were you were trying to pry as to whether he was available.
Of course. And that's why we continued the conversation.
All right.
I told him about people that I'm dating. He told me about people that he's dating. We had the conversation, again, subtly, just in context of what we were talking about during dinner. We had the conversation of why we didn't work. It was brought up. It wasn't awkward at all. It was just kind of like, I was young, I was growing.
Sure.
If I wanted to be courted and taken out more and, treated like the beautiful princess that I am. And now I would love to just sit at home and fucking like create and read and drink good wine. The shit that he wanted to do back in the day, I would love now.
Mm-hmm.
Not with him, but that style of dating is now where I'm at. And It was interesting. So we subtly gave these signals, and I think it's clear. We'll see.
I would say no. Just for the fact that what you did was, and think about this from the other perspective. This guy was kind of more of a homebody, more of an introvert, more of a introspective type of a guy at that time, and you were not. You were more of an extrovert and out there doing what you need to do. Now you come back and say, "Hey, been dating back and forth. Yeah, this is what I've learned. I'm growing. I'm a different person," which actually tells somebody, if you haven't created these boundaries, tell somebody, well, they're different. Maybe it would work this time. Now hold on a second. so then what you said was, "Wow, now I'm kind of like how you were." Or all he hears is, "Oh yeah, now you see
me."
Exactly.
No, that's not how it was.
Okay, all I'm saying is that there's a high possibility of, if that it was a scenario, that the other, unless you're clear, the other person is going to take it, because when you separate and you grieve through process and you get through that and you're all done with it, and you revisit somebody after however long it is, a year or whatever. You're going to be different people,
but you still know the core of that person,
right? But
you know that the core of that person better than anyone else. That's why I was, when I walked into the situation, a little bit nervous, kind of wondering why was I nervous, because I know this dude better than anyone else, and maybe if he was in a relationship after me, maybe that chick knows him better, but I still know him to the core of his human, basically.
Yeah, but how does that really matter when it comes down to you and you going through in terms of creating something new? I mean, and being super duper. See, you're talking about the first engagement after, right? And that's what this scenario is. The very, very now. In the very, very first one, I think you're going to come up against stuff where it's going to be, you guys are each feeling each other out. I would suggest
we were.
See, that's the whole thing, but I would suggest being around the block a couple times, that in order to, because the older you get, the less you really care about the dance so much, and you kind of throw it out there.
Well, I think you're just, the older you get, the more you're just yourself. And if you meet someone that can dance with that person, then that's the way to do things.
Right, but you are yourself, and you know yourself a little bit better. If you do it the right way, you know yourself a little bit better. But then you're actually, in that process, you're more accepting of other people as well and how they are.
Right.
And that being, but that being the case, you guys coming together as almost two different people, let's say.
Yeah.
It'd be almost like just a very, very first date. And that's why why you had that nervous feeling when you were going into it.
What was interesting is it wasn't. It was a little nerve-wracking at first, because I had all these questions like, shit, is he going to want to do me after this?
Right. So,
like,
so,
is he
you,
gonna
so
pay?
there were what right. So there were what ifs.
Yeah.
Right. Because now you were doing what ifs based upon the fact that he didn't get your signals, or you did, because you don't like creating those audible boundaries. You don't like saying that.
I like going with the flow.
Yeah,
but for my particular clients, maybe not your millennial clients, but for my clients, I want to help them feel comfortable to be themselves, but I also want to teach them how to learn how to read situations to where they don't have to do the awkward, I read an article on Elite Daily and it told me to do this, and this shit.
Well,
I want them to do it in their own way, as their own being, relative to the individual that they're dealing with. I can teach them how to do that, because honestly, I feel like I've mastered that.
You are good at reading other people, but the thing is that the other people have to have the opportunity or the ability to read you, and a lot of people don't. So that's why I'm saying.
But that's why being as transparent as you are helps.
Right. So wouldn't being transparent include audibly communicating the boundaries?
Nope. Yes, it is.
Nope.
Yeah, you're being transparent in your style.
I'm not saying
conversation and body language.
I'm not saying throw it out there like an IKEA manual.
That's what I'm picturing for some reason. For some reason, I'm like, oh, he's gonna pull out the directions.
No, I'm not.
I hate IKEA.
No. I'm not saying I'm going to be sitting over there across from whomever that is and say, okay, well, you have to understand that this has been a while, and
that's what I'm picturing.
And I have no intentions of doing it. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying that there's a way to do it, and there is a subtle way to do it, but you have to do it instead of leaving it up, because
of course you do.
But so many people don't have the ability to have that level of clarity and awareness, understanding of what you're trying to convey. Your subtle communication
but
sometimes
if it's
doesn't
an ex
sink
that
in.
you were with for a long period of time, I would hope that they know the core of you.
You would hope.
Okay, so then let's take it to the next level then. If they don't, you shouldn't, then you, number one, shouldn't have been with this person in the first place, and number two, shouldn't be revisiting this relationship.
But if my uncle had a vagina, he'd be my
Shut
aunt.
up! I hate when you say that.
But that's why I say it, because you hate it. Again, if it doesn't matter if it
No,
just,
it does
but
matter.
no, because it already happened.
But it matters. You're right. It already
happened.
And if you're that person, if you're listening to this show right now and you're like, fuck, you're either on Tony's side or my side.
There's no sides, dear.
If you're on Tony's side, you need to email me.
There's no side.
If you're on my side,
we're
you need to
all-
email Tony.
We're all
no, but seriously,
part of the same thing.
I think it all comes down to awareness and awareness of the relationship. So if you feel comfortable with revisiting this relationship, not on an intimate level, but because you dug the fuck out of this person in the first place, and I think exploring others is exploring yourself. So exploring this person is exploring yourself and who you are at this point in life. And I think that's really cool and fascinating. So if you're feeling bored, you need a drink, you want to split dinner with somebody.
Oh yeah,
and explore yourself.
That's
I know,
the reason.
he didn't even say.
That's the reason why.
So that's another subtle.
If you're bored,
I'm just kidding. That's another subtle way of saying, "Hey, I don't want to do you tonight.
I love that.
Let me put my card in.
I love this idea.
Let's split the check."
I love the fact that you
or
have,
even see a beautiful girl like walk by the restaurant and be like, "She's cute. Why don't you like? Would you talk to her?"
Don't you think that's disrespectful?
No,
I
we're
think
not
so.
together.
Yeah, but the thing is that if I let's hypothesize, right? Let's go through a little example. If I'm out with somebody that was my ex, and I still had feelings for them, and I'm out, and they got a hold of me, and I'm thinking, oh well, maybe time has passed, and maybe they've seen the light, and maybe we're different people, and maybe it would work.
You being the light.
Maybe it would work this time, because maybe some of the things that weren't there at that time, maybe we have, since we're grown.
Yeah,
a little
that's
bit.
a thought.
Maybe it's there. So we get together and this and that. We're connecting and we talking about old times. And I'm thinking, all right, we're kind of reestablishing our connections, and we're getting in. We got a couple glasses of wine, feeling good. All of a sudden, she goes, we're talking about dating and this and that. All of a sudden, she goes, "Oh, she's pretty hot. Why don't you date her?" I would feel not good.
But she wouldn't say it like that.
I don't know. How would you say it?
You wouldn't feel good. I mean, but why not? If you were smart and aware, you would come into the situation not with feelings that could be hurt.
Oh yeah, I would.
Really?
Oh yeah, because if I'm going into it and I'm thinking that, well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that if I'm going in with an intention, that maybe we could get something going again, and that's and true. You're actually, you know what? You're absolutely right, because if I am doing that anyway, that means I haven't mourned the relationship in the past.
So this is perfect transition.
Yeah, but how many times does that happen though? And I know a lot of people deal with this. A lot of people do. If they got crushed by somebody, especially if they get crushed by somebody, because I've had this circumstance where on both sides too, to where you just get crushed, and for no particular reason, just that the other person like runs for their lives, or just it kind of doesn't work out. They come back. It's almost an intrinsic, like a subconscious thing, to where you're like,
you want to win.
I'm gonna force myself to show.
I'm gonna mentally
into
rape
them
this motherfucker.
that they missed out. That I am the shit. And they should have never have done that.
And then I'm going to walk out the door and leave
exactly.
them hurt.
I did.
I'm going to get back. That's your fucking ego.
Small story. Broke up with a girl. Not good. I was stupid. I was 21 or something. Got back together with her a couple years later. She's down in Diego. She's in Diego. I dated her when I was at San Diego State. Got back together a couple years ago. We're making out hot and heavy and stuff. And right before she goes, I'm done.
Yep.
Because it was all about that.
Totally. I used to do that shit all the time in college.
All about that.
Yeah.
She just wanted to completely fuck me.
So that's really fascinating, because there is a difference between both scenarios. And this is the evolution, the appellations.
Not a word.
This is the evolution of you as a person and as a lover, is that back in the day when I was in college, if a guy broke my heart, I would have done the same fucking thing. I would have gone to his place and I would have made him want the fuck out of me, and I would have given him blue balls, and I would have fucking left, and I would have never talked to him again, and it would have felt good. But now that's irresponsible, number one, and that's doing nothing for my soul. And I actually loved the fuck out of this dude. So
Sure,
I would never
sure.
do that. That's why it always comes down to being aware and being a good person and being aware of who you are and your feelings. If an ex invites you out to go have a drink and you kind of feel like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get this dude back or whatever, don't go.
Okay, yeah. First of all, I wouldn't. Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't accept it at all if I had any.
So pay attention to the way that you feel.
Any gut wrench at all if if they called up again and they said that. I've got like my first or second ex-wife. If they called up, I know. If they called up and said, those are stories.
How many times have you been married?
Twice.
I feel like we haven't twice. Okay.
Twice.
I'm like, I feel like we haven't talked about it.
It's because the first time was like 10 minutes long. So, I mean,
Yeah.
literally 10 minutes long. So I really didn't need, and that was because we had our daughter.
I totally
and that's all that.
exaggerate whenever I explain you to people. I'm like, yeah, my podcast partner, he's been married like 5 times. So such a cool guy.
Yeah. And so he
looks 30.
So he's a relationship expert.
I know.
Right.
Isn't that so funny?
5 disastrous marriages. Well,
but that would make you an expert.
Well, in good or bad is the question. Like, do not do what I do, I guess, is what you would say. No, it's been twice. The first time was like 10 minutes, and I was 26, and I was an idiot. And we were both idiots.
So young.
Well, we had our daughter, and I wanted to stay together, and so we got married. So that was a bad mistake. The second time, I was 40 when I got married, and that went for 6 years. But then she wanted a family. She wanted kids, and I didn't.
Yeah.
Because I already had Rachel, and I raised her myself, and so I did all the work. And being a single parent, it just drained me.
Yeah.
I was done. I was done. And so, and the agreement was when we first got married that we wouldn't have kids, and then she changed her mind. And she changed her mind because she was 12 years younger than me, which is fine. And so that's actually why it was very amicable. And I still talk to her almost every day because now she has her own little baby. And she's living in California, and I'm her therapist. Basically,
but that's
what it comes
cool.
down to.
You guys are friends,
Right? And we're friends because I mourned the relationship. I understood what it was. I was okay with what it was, and now we can come back. And I completely reframed.
Yeah.
And what we have now is totally different.
And whether
it's a
or
brand,
not
it's
you
a brand
wanna
new thing.
Be this person's friend, or you want to go out and have dinner with this person, and maybe possibly explore intimacy with them again, whether or not that's the goal, you have to mourn that past relationship. We've talked about this before.
It has to be
but
buried.
You have to,
yes.
So mourn it and learn something from it, because that little key of knowledge is only going to make the next relationship better, and it's only going to bring more awareness to your little toolbox that you have as you're dating. I mean, you're one of the most aware humans when it comes to relationships, and you're very subtle and almost sociopathic when it's like, well, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, other than myself. And I would never, and I have in the past, but as I've become more aware of a human, I would never take it personal. I think that if you want to sit down and have drinks with your ex or revisit a situation with your ex, make sure you go into that situation knowing that whatever happens in this hour or 2 hours or month that you guys are hanging, don't take anything personal that they do, because that's when you bring those emotions into play.
You have to take it into context. And I think the bottom line is, and how I want to wrap my opinion up on this thing, it's totally possible, but you can't have any expectations in regards to creating something in terms of like taking up where you left off. It's about looking at the person as a friend and creating a brand new relationship from that with no expectation whatsoever of the intimacy. If that's going to happen, and sometimes it does, but then that should happen a little bit later on. It's a matter of starting from scratch. Starting from scratch, just like nothing ever happened. And that's about mourning the relationship.
Yeah.
And then, because the best part about that, and I think that's why this is so great if people could do this, is that they already know the really good parts about that person.
Of course. You don't have to show that
right.
yet.
They already know that this person is solid, or they have a huge heart, or they're very considerate, or they have, even though they can be
ambitious as fuck.
Yeah, and even though they have all that other shit that happened because of the back and forth and all that stuff when you guys were in a relationship, out in this brand new friendship thing, you already know that they are just a solid person that you would benefit from to have them in your life.
Yes.
And so that being the case, if you look at that and you take it for what that is, and if it was up to me, I would create very concrete boundaries in that, and I would say, hey, I just, I think at this point, these are the things that I loved about you, that I like about you, that I respect. Yeah, well, I don't want
boner killer.
I don't want to give her a boner. That's the whole point. I don't want to. Well, maybe I do, but that's a whole different thing. Yeah. But I don't. In terms of creating this brand new thing, you want to be a boner killer.
And I like to play with fire because I think that
bad idea if you ask me.
And but I like putting myself in situations that I wouldn't normally put myself in because it's interesting to see how I react, and I like to pay attention to the way that my body and my mind reacts to these things. What I would say is exactly basically what you said is come at the situation as if it's a clean slate and be genuinely interested in getting to know this person for who they are now and not who they were. You don't have to bring up all this crazy shit. I think you should be able to laugh at fun situations. We fucking died laughing about shit.
Oh, sure.
That we had in the past, and it was so great. Feeling comfortable with someone is so nice. It's like when I come here, just being in your presence, I feel so good and motivated and confident in who I am. So if you can have all of those people in your pocket for one call away or one visit away when you need that inspiration, that's dope. I kind of compare it to, is in a perfect world, or in Lexi's perfect world, I would want every guy I've ever dated to be very, very cool with me still. I wish I could put them all in my pocket and have there's a situation for each of them because I liked them for one reason or the other, and they always benefited me in whatever way it was, whether it was they made me more competitive or they brought out my sports knowledge, or they brought out my hip-hop knowledge, or they brought out my intellectual side. They were all there for a reason, and they've all helped contribute to the building blocks of who I am now. So in a perfect world, you should want to have those people available if you can. So I think that keeping the bridges, not burning the bridges, keeping the bridges solid and whole I think it's a good thing.
I say burn that fucker down and then build a new one.
Motherfucker burn.
Yeah, and then build a new one. But that brings up a really good point, because I agree with that. The good point is some people are not good. They're toxic.
Yeah.
And they're abusive. And they're just not good people,
Yes.
They're the ones that you kind of learn the lessons on.
Fuck them.
And those are the ones that sometimes we have a subconscious attachment to them, and they can call back. And it's like
I'm glad you brought that up.
It's like the battered wife syndrome. And I actually worked in a halfway house with abused women, pregnant women in Costa Mesa in California. And shockingly, even after all that was said and done, and all the shit that they went through with these guys, they still had this attraction to them.
Yeah,
and it's a subconscious,
and that's when you need help.
But that's why they were there.
Yeah,
and they did a really good job. Most of the time, they did a really good job in terms of getting clear and having more awareness on that. But I'm saying there are some people that are not good for you, and and hopefully by the time you go through and you grieve the process and you bury them and you bury that motherfucker. Then after that, then you understand that not even a friendship is a good thing for you, because there's nothing there.
And that's why your point is, as long as you bury that motherfucker, whether you're gonna eventually revisit or not, you bury it, and you'll find the answer to whether you should revisit or you shouldn't. It's black or white.
Well, you can't get any clarity at all if you're still emotionally involved in something. Like none.
Oh yeah, we slammed that fucking door.
Right. So you have to grieve the process, and you have to put them in the ground, and then create some space. And once you create space, you can see it for what it was.
Yeah.
And then you can make a determination in regards to if it was productive or not. And if it wasn't, then why would you bring that back into your life?
Right. So you want good energy in your life. I think it's good to feel the bad, because if you don't feel the bad energy, you won't even know what the good should feel like.
Yeah, so that's a general.
That's grieving, and
yeah, that's a natural law thing too. Because the more you know about the bad, the more you understand the good.
Right, and so I think the point is to, if it feels right, revisit it.
There was an extra there was an extra syllable in there, but I think we know where you're going with this.
Revisit it,
right,
and learn from it. Use it as a learning experience. If you're ever in a situation that feels uncomfortable, take a step back, count to 5, and be like, all right, I'm about to learn some shit about this because I feel weird. My body's not reacting to this situation right, and go for it. Mm-hmm. But don't put yourself in that situation if you don't think you can handle it. But you can fucking handle it. You can handle anything that comes your way. My last point is listen to your soul, and at the end of the date or whatever you want to call it, if you want to kiss the motherfucker, kiss the motherfucker. Kissing feels good and it stimulates your senses, and then comes inspiration. We didn't kiss. We didn't kiss
right,
at the end of the date.
And I couldn't.
But I mean, I thought about it a couple times, and then I was just kind of like, nah, don't do that. Don't do that. That's messy. So I didn't.
Right.
But I mean,
and I
whatever.
think you made the right choice.
I know, I did.
And I think, and again, I couldn't disagree with you more on that. Absolutely fucking because that crosses the boundary and creates mixed signals.
But if you're both aware humans, you'll be fine.
Oh my God, how many times does that happen? Like none ever. That's the whole that's the whole thing. It's you have to gauge levels of awareness, and if you guys somehow
are on the same page,
miraculously, indirectly know that both of you can
will know.
make out. Oh no,
hyper aware humans could do that.
How many times have you seen 2 hyper-aware humans together at once?
I have.
That's like seeing Sasquatch.
All my clients leave my sessions being very hyper-aware.
Yeah, for 5 minutes until they're out the door, and then they have to go to fucking Costco and deal with some idiot that left their cart in the middle of the aisle for some 2 chips and a guacamole dab. Fucking Costco. Anyway, I don't know how I got a Costco. So, anyway, you can go to jobbud.com to see all the videos, because we're taking a video of this. Hello, and the because Wine Wednesdays, so you see the wine, and you can listen to all the podcasts. I've got a freebie out there. A little freebie ebook happening, and then Lex has she's almost done with Crucial Awareness.
Oh my God,
almost done with Crucial Awareness.
This is why. Crucialawareness.com.
You didn't kill that, did you?
No.
Okay, good.
That's for you.
Okay, thank you.
Crucialawareness.com will be up soon. I'm so stoked. It's going to be so great. I'm such a perfectionist, and I've already have 3 clients. I got a client, actually, my Lyft driver, on the way here to my hotel when I landed, is my new client.
Yeah.
I sent him the contract.
Sign him up
yesterday.
Well done.
He's in an arranged marriage. Oh, I wanted to tell you about this.
Different show.
He's in an
we're
arranged
done.
marriage, and he needs help because he wants to get out, but they have kids and blah, 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 blah. So hit me up, Lexi at crucialawareness.com.
Different show.
Free consultation, whether you're in San Diego or not. We can do Skype. We can do in person. We can do on the phone. We can even do email. I don't prefer email because clearly I like presence.
Email's a terrible way to do it. I never do email. I always do either Skype or in person.
We can't. Email only makes sense after I've already met you and kind of got a grasp of who you are.
Yeah, and I just do that with checkups like afterwards.
Yeah.
After we go through a process.
Of course. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Rate and review.
Okay, rate and review.
Share the show. Please share the show.
iTunes, Stitcher,
Hashtag
SoundCloud. We've reached a couple benchmarks. We're up to 107 or 8 shows. We got at least right. We've got thousands and thousands of listens and downloads across 218 different countries. So we appreciate everybody. And I want to say, because I cut it out last week with Mariah when we were talking. Marie Talks is a listener on SoundCloud, and I think she's downloaded or at least liked every single show that we've ever done.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
So Marie Talks, whoever you are, thank you. I appreciate it because I've never heard from her. I don't know what
Cool.
the deal is, but I mean, get to me and contact me. I'd like to get you on and just say thanks. But that's really cool. I mean, over 2.5 years, she's been and she's
That
like
is
one
really
of one of the core listeners. So
and I get some pretty good feedback from different listeners, even if it's just my community in San Diego. They're all so rad. I have the best circle out there, and that's why I'm stoked for what's to come because once I get my site up and running, there are so many cool things that are going to happen. And hopefully you guys want to work with me and want to kind of pick my brain because I promise I'm helpful. As much as Tony likes to say that I'm fucking crazy, I'm not.
yes, entertaining to say the least. Yeah, at least you get that. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Peace out.
Bye.